checking in. And Sticks, are you able to answer those? Greetings, everybody.
Yeah, I'm working on
Thank
it.
you. Says we're alive. It's alive. So, other than that, same as last week. Your show is out. We published your memoir at the bottom of that page. The pictures did not come up. I'll have to see if I can find a way to make that happen.
Those pictures are awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, anyone?
What's your favorite color?
Burgundy. And my
As
favorite.
in Ron Burgundy?
I'm Ron Burgundy.
So there I was.
There you go. Go
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready, man. I'm excited to hear more Batar.
So am I. I want to do a quick sound check. Make sure you can hear this, please. I just screwed it up.
The link for the show was throwing me off. It said November 25 with Batar. I'm like, well, that's the old one.
That's what.
That's why I wasn't here earlier. I was.
Sound coming through okay?
I'm not hearing anything.
You didn't hear anything. Great.
No. Batar, did you hear any sound other than our voices?
Nope.
That's why we do a sound check, damn it. And that would be why. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, that's half the battle. Here's the other half. Oh, damn it. I keep touching the button before I'm supposed to.
Don't put the thing on the thing, bro. There we go.
Got sound.
This here is a true story
That sounds good.
about crossing the pond.
That sounds real good.
Yeah, baby. All right.
Yeah. Real nice, Clark.
Almost like work here. All right.
Real tomato ketchup, Clark.
Here we go.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit on the tanker through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the...
So there I was. We'd been based in Hawaii, but we've been pulled out and sent to Japan for a few months. We were now coming home, and when we got in our airplanes on Wake Island, we'd flown from Japan down to Wake Island, and we got in the airplanes. It was raining hard, and the phantom in the rain, when you open the canopy, the rain goes right to the radio. So we started up with no radios, but we headed up to Midway. And by the time we got to the tanker, all but our wingman had the radios back, and the tanker gave us our offloads. And it's a little under 1,200 nautical miles from overhead Midway down to Kaneohe Bay on Oahu. And we're more than down. And our wingman comes up on our wing and indicates that he's got 400 pounds of fuel with a hand signal.
What?
And, you know, at that point, I figured there's no way those guys aren't going swimming. But the first thing we do is we come up with Honolulu Center radio, because we know we have a standby tanker on the ground at Barbers Point Naval Air Station on Oahu. So I try to talk to Honolulu Center. Our call sign was Charlie Brown 1-1. And I go, Charlie Brown, and I wait. They're talking to airliners in and out of Hawaii all the time, and they don't want to hear me. And so at a break in the comm, I real quickly throw in Honolulu Center, Charlie Brown 1-1. No response, more airliners. I do that 3 times. Nobody's talking to me. Finally, I wait for a break and I say, Honolulu Center, Charlie Brown 1-1. Mayday, mayday, mayday. And I'll leave it there.
That got his attention. Oh, man, that's how all great aviation tales begin.
No.
The old Bill Cosby line, Noah talking to God, or God talking to Noah comes to mind there. How long can you tread water?
Oh, man.
Repeat here, coming to you from New Hampshire tonight. Hello, Cohorst. Where art thou?
Hello, Repeat. Yes, Fig, here I am, lucky enough to be at home for one more day in beautiful Kearney, Missouri, where it's a balmy 21 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, man, you should go get your bikini on, man.
I just took the furry one off because I just came back inside. And it is our distinct pleasure to welcome back on So There I Was, Bātar, because he's got more stories and we got to get him out. Welcome back, Bātar. Thank you for joining us again.
Hey, my pleasure.
Thrilled to have you back. Had a chance to finish your memo, and folks, go look at last week's show, 136. So there I was.us/episode/136, and you will see his memoir published right there. I'm gonna get it in a centrally located place on the website as well, but it's right there, and a great read. It is
Great read.
Well documented from. You said mostly from letters home, right?
On the first tour, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, fun stuff. Great read. Thrilled to have you back. I think one of the first things we should do is go back over last week's. We never closed the loop on last week's, so there I was. I believe you were bombing Football Island.
Well, I'll start right at the beginning.
Yeah.
We were manning the air-to-ground hot pad on 5-minute alert, and we'd already checked out the airplanes. We had our gear on, and we're sitting in the hot pad van.
Hey, Bātar, were you in Da Nang at this time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And our airplane had wing tanks on the outboard stations. It had 4 packs of 19-shot 2.75-inch rocket pods on the inboard station.
Rockets.
And then 3 1,000-pound napalm on the center line.
Ooh.
And the 1,000-pound napalm were just some aircraft's old external fuel tanks that they probably pulled out of the boneyard and filled with napalm, and then figured out how to jury-rig a fuse on the thing. And our wingman had a centerline tank on, and he had 3,000-pound napalm on each wing for a total of 6. So
wow.
We got scrambled just as the sun was down on the horizon, and it was only about 15 miles southwest of Da Nang. It was I'd estimate a 10 or 20 acre island, and it was shaped like a football, so we all called it Football Island, in the middle of a river. And the river had to be fordable, or the Marines wouldn't have been out there on the island.
Okay.
So they were being attacked by superior forces of North Vietnamese Army from both the north and the south side of the river. And at that time, we didn't have much that we could do for them if it got dark out. There wasn't very good close air support early in the war for nighttime operations.
Oh boy.
And later on, they came up with C-47 gunships and that kind of stuff that were very good. But we got down there over them, and one of the very, very few times on the missions that I flew, the forward air controller on the ground, who is, obviously one of us, a pilot or an NFO, probably a pilot at that time of the war. And he had a UHF radio, so he was talking directly to us. And the other thing was, the only time I saw it in the war, he said, "I'm going to mark my position with a mirror flash." Roger that. Got your flash. We know exactly where you are.
That's money.
And he said we had an estimated 4 50 caliber. I think maybe the NBA had 51 caliber, but roughly a 50 caliber machine guns down there, and they had mortars that they were putting onto the island where the Marines were. And so we came down, and it got cleared in hot. And our first run, we dropped the 3 napalm canisters we had on our airplane, and they hit the target. We flew treetop level straight into the machine guns. And I don't have a lot to do on runs like that, but I was passing airspeed information once in a while to the pilot so he could stay out of the cockpit, and we didn't want to overspeed the fuses on the napalm, which had a 400 knot carry limit. But while we're in the run and I'm looking down inside the cockpit, I see in my peripheral vision something going by. and I look up, and within 2 or 3 inches of the plexiglass on both sides of the airplane is a solid stream of tracers going by.
Oh, geez.
But we pull off the target, and nothing lights off. The napalm fuses at that time. We finally figured out you could use a chip of wood and block them in and lock them on tight, but they just flew off into space and didn't light the napalm. And our wingman came in after us, and he dropped all of his, and still nothing lit off. So we came around on our second pass, and we walked all 76 of our rockets through where the napalm was on the ground. And the forward air controller on the island held up his radio so that we could hear everybody, and it was like a scene out of a movie. We're cheering loudly on the island, and they were yelling that you got them all, they're all done. I don't think anybody ever went back up there to see exactly what the bomb damage assessment was. We never got an official count of any kind about what we did, but now they could just defend one side of the island for the night. And, we really cleaned house on that mission. We came back and landed, and I got out and looked at the airplane. I don't know how they avoided knocking us out of the sky. We lost in that war a lot of phantoms doing that kind of stuff. And we learned later in the war that you were a whole lot better off doing a 10 or 20 degree dive and pickling from a little higher altitude than putting yourself right in the face of the guns. But on both sides of the cockpit, there are intake ramps that at high supersonic speeds put the shockwave away from the intakes. And both intake ramps had multiple 50 caliber hits on them.
Oh, shit.
And this is right next to the cockpits. And those go back through and up through the rest of the airplane. And we had every system working when we landed. We had no leaks, no problems, no nothing. And the plane had to be barged out to overhaul to be repaired. There was no way they could fix it at Da Nang where we were. But I'm just amazed that the plane came back in such perfect condition.
It
it's a
looks
beast.
like that intake ramp is about even with your knees.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yep.
Sticks just had the picture up, and I mean, really, it looks like that ramp is right about where you're sitting.
Well, the good news is the rounds were coming from straight in front of us, so they weren't going in through the ramp into the plane. They were just going backing out.
Okay.
Oh, geez. That didn't really make it that much better for me. Good Lord. Wow. Great story. So, okay. So there was a speed
Going back
limit.
and lighting off the napalm with rockets was brilliant.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, glad it wasn't fortuitous that you didn't do the rockets first.
Oh yeah,
and then come back with the napalm, and it never would light off.
Yep.
So I got you triggered a couple questions there. So the fusing on the napalm, was it a mechanical fusing that just wasn't staying together?
It was white phosphorus.
But the fuse was coming detached from the canister before impact.
They rigged it up so they had something that went into the where they used to put the fuel into the tank, and they had something to screw it in there. But one of the other squadrons figured it out that you took a chip of wood and hammered it in between the fuse and the tank, and it locked it in tight enough so that it stayed with it when you dropped it. But we didn't know that at the time.
Okay.
And then,
so you'd think engineers would figure that out when they're building this stuff.
Oh, well.
Okay, so then that triggered another question. So I heard you say there was a 400 knot restriction on the canisters when you were dropping napalm.
Yeah,
and I'm guessing now that was because you really didn't have ballistic data on speeds over 400 knots, where it was going to go when it came loose.
Well, it wasn't the ballistic data. It was the fuse, which was on the side of the thing, and they were worried the parts of the fuse would come apart if you went faster than that.
Okay. All right. Well, under the guise of speed is life, and you're running in at treetop level, I think it would be hard to stay disciplined and only be at 400 knots when people are shooting at you with high caliber weapons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So thank goodness you were in the back seat going, "Hey, pull it back, boss." Here.
Well, I have another tale, and I have another tale that later on that same tour. Early on, the Phantom used to have a utility hydraulic failure as a regular occurrence. and we were up once again with napalm on the airplane, and had a forward air controller calling us in. And while we were waiting to be called in, we had a utility failure. Well, what you do with the utility failure is if you see it going down, you have air bottles to blow the gear and the flaps down. So you immediately blow the gear and the flaps down and make sure you're in good shape. And then if you want to drop ordnance with the gear and the flaps down, there's an armament safety override switch that you can flip. And now you can drop ordnance. So
I can't imagine dropping ordnance dirty. Oh my God.
well, the guy that I'm flying with,
Fox.
yeah, Fox,
Yep.
you know, almost nothing would ever stop him from finishing a mission, no matter what was going on.
Oh, that's
And
great.
so we went in on that mission at 250 knots, and a few guys shooting at us, but nothing heavy. And I was surprised we came back with no holes in the airplane.
How about that? So he bomb run with the gear down.
Yeah, they were probably laughing on the ground.
That airplane was a beast. So you also triggered another question. You know, you said 15 miles south of the airbase. I mean, you're there in like a minute.
Oh,
it
yeah.
seems like after you take off. So
Oh yeah.
and you said if the sun went down, you were kind of out of business as far as close air support went until later. Did you guys ever bomb under flares?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I thought you said something about that on the last.
Yeah, we
last
did that, on the Ho Chi Minh Trail occasionally, in North Vietnam
Yes.
occasionally, and sometimes on close support in South Vietnam.
Could you describe that for our non-aviator listeners? What that's like, bombing under a flare? What's that mean?
Well, and the flares are pretty bright. They kind of light up the whole countryside. And the nice thing is, if you're dropping above where the flare is, you can see the ground and nobody can see you. So it works out pretty well.
Yeah, so we're real smart, us Harrier guys. We used to, on purpose now at Cherry Point, go out and bomb under flares, but we go under the flare, drop our bombs, come back up in the dark, and then try to find each other and join back up.
Oh.
Yeah, it was dumb.
Well, did you ever try firing Zuni missiles at night?
I can
Yes.
say no to that.
Oh, really?
Repeat, did you?
I'm pretty sure I have. It's hard not to look at him in the daytime. At
I
nighttime,
know.
it's next to impossible.
We shot the gun at night, but
Yeah.
I never got shot a rocket at night.
No, I was over on the Ho Chi Minh Trail in the middle of the night one night. We had decided that we would try the Zunis at night, and we had 6 packs of 4-shot Zunis on the plane, and it was an A6 escort, so we were just behind the A6 looking for the gun, shooting at him, and we found a good pile of guns to shoot at, and rolled in and ripple fired all the Zunis at once, and the guy in the front seat held a hand over his eye. But when he came off, he said, "Vertical row. We're all over the sky."
That's awesome. That's not awesome, but it's awesome now to hear the story.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. I have a note here that I wanted to come back to. Well, actually, I don't think you covered it. So it was in I read it, in your memoir, and I'm going to set it up so you kind of refresh your memory. But I think you had flown already, and you were at the club, probably the Doom Club.
Oh yeah.
No.
The Doom Club was Air Force.
Okay.
And-
So
and
excuse me.
Our club at that point was the thatched roof hut.
Okay. And
Yeah, but at least it was muddy or dusty.
Yeah, so just to trigger your memory, from what I remember, I think you were about 3 beers in when.
Yeah, exactly. We had 2 or 3 empties on the table, and
please proceed. Yes.
And it was actually Fox, the same guy that I'd been flying with before that, came in and said, we've got they badly want somebody up in over North Vietnam. They've got a truck park located with a lot of activity. Are you guys okay to fly? Now,
with 6 empty beer bottles sitting on the table between the two of you.
and we're both lieutenants at this time. What a question to ask a lieutenant.
Right? Are you sober enough to fly?
Are you guys okay to fly?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's rich.
No, we
So
went up there, and that we were
Hey,
dropping.
Fox, why don't I take the front seat tonight? Okay.
We were dropping under flares and had a good time, and no problems at all, and came back, and we're on a GCA ground controlled approach, radar approach going in, and all of a sudden, Danny in the front seat realized that he was being called very low, and I looked at the altimeter, and he lit the afterburner, and I saw 0 on the altimeter.
Oh shit!
We both been asleep at the wheel.
Oh my gosh!
What?
And you were on it was GCA PA. Were you doing a PAR back in? And because the ceiling was low.
I think it was probably weather. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you really said you said this very nonchalantly. You said they needed you to go up north, meaning north of the DMZ,
Yep.
and drop bombs.
Yep.
And then there really wasn't any excitement for you guys until you came back and you were on the GCA and
Exactly.
oh my goodness. Oh, it was a truck park.
another statistic I looked up recently. They lost over 500 Phantoms in Vietnam, and the Marine Corps lost over 90. So it was not an unusual occurrence to lose people in the squadron.
That's
yeah.
Those are heavy numbers.
Oh, I know it. I know it. That's just the Phantoms. That's not everybody else.
So did you say before that one of the Marine F4 squadrons had lost 13 airplanes?
Yeah, and I don't think there's any way to document that. But like I said, I knew most of those guys, and I had counted them off while it was going on. And 2 of them were one was a rocket attack. They hit one on the ground, and another one was doing a stray voltage check on a Sidewinder missile that they cooked it off, and it hit another airplane. But the other 11 were all shot down. And I was coming back from being out of somewhere, and I stopped in Iwakuni, and that squadron had rotated out by then. And I went to the club for lunch, and I sat down with 7 of these guys from 314. And finally, I looked around to the table, and I said, I think myself and one other guy are the only guys at the table here that haven't jumped out of an airplane in the last couple of 3 months.
Oh, you didn't say that out loud, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. What were you thinking?
Sticks just put up that there were 678 F4s shot down in Vietnam.
Yeah, geez. Well, and they're not all shoot downs. There were some of those are accidents.
Sure, but still.
So that's the
interesting
Navy, the
thing
Marine
was
Corps,
I
and the Air
found
Force.
Yep.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that was I found your letters home to be rather nonchalant about, we're not really in any danger. We're blood's flying everywhere, man.
Although I will tell you, Winston Churchill once remarked that there's no more exuberant sensation than being shot at and missed. And I remember when I came back from that football island hop and looked at the airplane, I had that sensation. It was somewhat exhilarating to know you made it back after all those people tried to not have you come back.
I can honestly say I've had that same sensation.
Yeah.
Well, you flew Harriers, of course.
yes, but you don't know the rest of the story. The rest of the story is I had no combat time in the Harrier due to timing, but I had a shit ton of combat time in a C-130.
Yep.
Which
couldn't shoot back.
And it was a very slow, large moving target.
Oh, boy.
So, reminds me, one of my instructors at the basic school once said, it isn't the bullet with your name on it that you have to worry about. It's the one addressed to whom it may concern. So.
Right.
Hey, like I said, better to be lucky than good.
Exactly. The truest adage of naval aviation, if there ever there was one.
Oh, yeah.
So Batar, we had for a long time, and it seems there is a theme, especially with our Vietnam veterans that have come on our show, where there is
livestock incidents,
death to livestock in Vietnam. And so I remember from the last, I think you said, and I just want to clarify, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but were elephants a valid target?
Oh yeah, on the Ho
Which-
Chi Minh Trail, they were as valid as a truck.
Holy shit. So, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Sticks just put up that picture. Did you say that you remember being the forward air controller was guiding you onto elephants, or was it the water buffalo story?
Now the one we had was water buffalo, and like I said, he had roughly 50 water buffalo in a field, and we wanted to drop all our bombs at once and take the whole herd out. And he said, "Well, let's just drop one and see how you do, and we'll go from there." And of course, one bomb in the middle, and they were all in the jungle in no time.
Sure.
They're
Right.
not stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Now, another one to go back to that came to mind with talking about utility failures. And I had the story there. At the time of this tale, Da Nang was supposed to be the busiest airport in the world, and they only had one runway.
Whoa.
We had a utility failure. So we came in and did a approach end fly into the gear and rolled into it. And the gear, the tail.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
He
froze.
hit the gear too hard.
Hit the gear too hard.
He rolled into the
Rolled
gear
rather
too hard.
momentarily.
Oh wait.
Oh,
Oh.
he's back. So we
No,
will get
no,
clean
and I
audio
heard-
thanks to StreamYard. Can you start over? We flew into the gear and then you froze.
Okay, yeah. Well, we landed short of the arresting gear and rolled into it and picked up the cable, and the cable broke. And not because we were too heavy or too fast. The cable, and I heard one rumor that somebody said they thought there was some cable sabotage there, but I don't know anything more about that. But at 150 knots, all of a sudden we were 30 or 40 degrees off runway heading, but still going down the runway. And it took a few cycles of back and forth with the nose for the pilot to get it under control. And once we were looking reasonably good, he added full power and we took off again. And the tower cleared us to go around and come back in and land from the other end and roll into the gear at the other end. And we made two passes on the gear at the other end and couldn't pick up the cable. So we flew by the tower, and he said, "It looks like your tail looks bent." So we did a normal landing and rolled out. And the problem with that is there's not a lot of directional steering, but you have some emergency air for the brakes, and you can do a little bit. And we stayed on the runway. And when we stopped, the 10,000-foot taxiway alongside the runway was clogged completely end to end with planes trying to wait to take off.
Oh shit.
There were planes trying to land, and there were planes in all the ramps backed up trying to get onto the taxiway. And we had just plugged up the whole airport, just clogged everything up completely. So they finally got a tug out there and towed us off and going again.
Oh, I'm sure all the Air Force guys were like, "Those damn Marines." Right?
I think probably the airliners that were in there were probably the same thing.
Oh yeah, I didn't.
Oh,
even
that's
think about
right.
that.
Freedom flights were in and out of there.
Oh sure.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And so the Marines on the Freedom flights were like, "Those damn Marines, get that!" Oh man! So you bent the hook. Wow, that takes.
Yeah, it was bad about 30 degrees to the angle of the airplane when we finally looked at it.
That's incredible.
No.
So we were chatting pre-show. You counted just shy of 700 combat missions.
Yeah, 685.
Yeah. So.
And my first tour was 235 because we pulled off and went to Taiwan there in the middle of that one.
Right.
On the second tour, I flew 450. But
Holy shit.
on the second tour, we weren't going into North Vietnam, and there were an awful lot of times on the first tour where we came back and had holes in the airplane. On the second tour, never had a hole in the airplane. We weren't dropping napalm at treetop level for the most part.
Okay.
Well, that something else that the load we carry. In fact, I can go a couple of tales on this one. I think this was due to our maintenance officer, who was Mike Sullivan at the time. And we had a couple of airplanes where the
Hold on.
fittings
Iron Mike Sullivan, General.
Iron Mike Sullivan at this time, Major.
Okay. Well, right, yeah. But I mean, he's the one that
Same
went on
guy.
to become the general.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he was lieutenant general when he retired. Yeah.
Oh,
with,
that's
with,
great.
with over 8,000 hours in airplanes and 5,000 of those in Phantoms. But he got a bright idea. As the maintenance officer, we had a couple of airplanes where we couldn't put the centerline tanks on it because some of the fittings couldn't be gotten. So he got a bright idea and said, well, if we can't put a centerline tank on, let's just put another bomb rack on there. And I flew it.
Damn it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
I am.
Come on, Bātar. Come back, Bātar. Come back. Come
Yep,
on, Steve.
I'm back.
He's back.
There you
Woo!
go. So we heard I flew, and then you went for
Centerline. So you couldn't get a centerline tank on because there was not enough fittings.
So we put another multiple ejection rack on the center line, and now we had multiple ejection racks on 3 stations on the airplanes and triple ejection racks on 2 stations. And we put 24 500-pound bombs on the airplane. And it still flew very nice. I mean, it took off with using less than half the runway.
24.
But the tough part of that could be that I was out with the commanding officer one day, and we were over in Laos. And we told the forward air control with the target. I forget what the target was, but we told them we wanted to make one run and drop 24 500-pound bombs in the one run. And we did. The skipper set it up for ripple all, and we did our probably a 60-degree dive at 500 knots.
Whoa.
And
that's steep.
Oh yeah,
it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When they're actively firing targets and you weren't really wanting to get shot down, it was a good way to go.
Yeah.
But on this particular one, with ripple all the bombs came off the left wing. All the bombs came off the center line, and we were left with 9 500-pound bombs on the right wing.
Oh, that made the recovery a little dicey, didn't it?
And he almost lost it on the recovery, but luckily, he was a very skilled pilot. He knew his eyes weren't too good, so he never flew the night missions, and we never held that against him. We thought the night missions were fun anyway. And we got back to Chulai, and he kept about an extra 20 knots on the airplane for the landing, and we landed okay. About 2 weeks later, one of the new guys in one of the other squadrons had the same thing happen, and he made an on-speed landing, and a gust of wind caught him and killed them both.
Yeah, flipped him over.
Yep.
Yeah. So for our non-aviator listeners,
What
this we're talking about an asymmetrical load. So a heavy load under one wing, and the rest of the airplane's empty. And had he put on a lot of G, which he probably did, he probably had to milk that recovery to keep from departing control flight.
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely.
of the asymmetrical load. And then because of the asymmetrical load, he flew faster so he had lateral control of the wings to land, and that's what the inexperienced pilot didn't do, and lost control because he ran out of aileron control because of the big asymmetry.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Because that's what you fly your approach. It's called on speed at your optimum angle of attack, but you need to be faster with that asymmetrical.
Unfortunately that's a mistake you can't make again.
Right.
You got to know beforehand.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you were flying with Iron Mike, and he had his shit wired.
No, I wasn't with him. I was with the CO.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
CO. Well, I'm glad the CO had his shit wired.
Absolutely.
Batar.
Absolutely.
And was this first deployment when same CO that taught you not to go into thunderstorms?
Nope, this was the second deployment.
Second deployment.
Different guy. I flew with 2 different COs on the second deployment, and the first one that I flew with had also had another combat deployment before this, but he was kind of bored with this one because a lot of people weren't shooting at us as much, and he liked to see how he liked to see how quick a mission he could fly.
There's
How
your
quick?
subtitle. He was kind of
He
bored.
wanted to see how between takeoff time to land time what could he get it down to. So we took off with a full of bombs heading south out of Chulai one day, and the target was only about 5 miles south. And he has me call up and tell the forward air controller that we need to drop everything on one pass because we're minimum fuel. and we come in with we come in with the dumps on, pouring gas out big dumps, make one run, drop the fuel, and then tell the tower we've got an emergency. We want to change the runway to come in from the south. I asked him many years later what was all that about, and he said he was just trying to keep from being bored.
Oh my gosh! So he was timing to see how quick he could get it done.
Oh, exactly.
Take off, drop bombs, get and recover.
Well, and we did one. We took off out of Chulai one time and went over to another country, dropped the bombs that came back, and they did it all in 12 minutes. over to Laos and back out of
sounds
Chulai.
like Laos then. Okay. Wow.
Okay. So, hey, just for a frame of reference, your first combat tour was in 1968.
No, it was 65 to 66.
So, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. 65, 66, and then when you went back, it was
69 and 70.
Okay, that's awesome.
And that's under two different presidents as well.
Oh yeah.
Without going too political, I guess, how did that change the way things were operating in country, having two different administrations?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Now, when I came back from my first tour, they stuck me in an F-8 squadron that was scheduled to get F-4s.
Right.
And I banged around for 6 months, bumming flights in the other F-4 squadrons on the base. And then they got their F-4s, and that was VMFA 334. And they stabilized for the overseas. And I thought about it, and geez, I don't know. I made it back from my first tour. I'm not ready to go back on a second tour. And they just assumed, since I was single at the time, that I was just going to go with them. And I said, I'm not going to my overseas control date. And they were kind of shocked by that, and they kicked me out of the squadron. I became the group embark officer for a while. And then while I was the group embark officer, a piece of paper came around. They were trying to find somebody to go to air traffic control officer school in Glencoe, Georgia.
Okay.
And I stuck my name on the list, and before anybody knew what was happening, I hopped in my car and drove east.
Wait. Did you drive east with orders, or were you betting on the come?
No. I had a set of orders.
Okay.
I went back
because
and
you already changed squadrons once without orders.
I know. Based on the last interview, I thought, well, this is how this guy operates. He goes, I'm going to Glencoe, Georgia. My orders will show up when I get there.
Now I went back and became FAA qualified as a control tower operator.
No shit.
Nice.
Yep. Just as a hobby.
Just
because the slot was there, nobody wanted it.
Typical underachiever.
And I came back to El Toro and sat around there for a while, and met a girl. Actually, she picked me up in a bar in Laguna Beach, and she said it's the only time she's ever done anything like that. But we hit it off immediately, and I decided I probably ought to get out of the Marine Corps, go back and use my GI Bill and finish a college degree so I can get a job somewhere. So I put in a letter to get out, and Headquarters Marine Corps writes back and says, "You don't understand. You're a regular, not a reservist. You ain't getting out."
There's a war going on, sir.
So I thought about that for a while, and I wrote another letter finally. I said, well, if you're not going to let me out, how about sending me back to the combat zone? And they said, okay, everybody at El Toro, take one step backwards, Massey. You go to the head of the line.
Wow.
And I got to Okinawa, and they said, okay, we're going to send you to Iwakuni. And I said, I don't want to go to Iwakuni. I want to go down and do some more combat flying. So they sent me down there, and I got to Chulai, and they had a squadron going to rotate out and go up to Iwakuni, and they tricked me in that squadron. They said, no, I don't want to do that. So I finally got stuck into 314 and spent a year flying combat with 314 that time.
Out of Chulai.
Out of Chulai, yeah.
Okay.
Which, as I said,
much nicer than Da Nang on the first pump.
Oh yeah. And, I've told you, we had Quonset huts and air-conditioned Quonset huts at Chulai. And a chow hall with good food and, all the comforts of home.
Damn, living like the Air Force.
Yeah, I remember seeing the pictures
from
the last show, the pictures of Chulai, which, in my mind, it was the opposite. I thought Chulai was austere location, and Da Nang, was all developed, but
Yeah,
not in 1965, I guess, huh?
The guys that had it pretty good at Chulai were the attack guys that until later on when they finally moved over to where we were, but they were living on the beach over there.
What?
They had an oak club right on the beach. I was down there one time on my first tour, and they had nurses off one of the hospital ships in the oak club with them.
No.
Holy smokes!
Okay, you said the attack guys. Repeat and I know what you're talking about. Can you for our listeners that maybe aren't aware, what are you referring to when you say the attack guys had?
Yeah, and at that time, the attack aircraft on the first tour were the A4.
Okay.
And their sole mission, they had no fighter mission at all, and their sole mission was dropping bombs, generally in close support to Marines on the ground. And on the second tour, they had the A6, which was also just an attack aircraft. But the A6 in that time frame on my second tour was an amazingly impressive airplane for the missions that were going on.
I recall you saying that. Can you tell us why it was so impressive?
First of all, they had to fly in at a constant altitude of around 4,000 feet for 25 or 30 miles, so their system could lock onto trucks on the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
That's right.
But then I also read accounts in between my tours in 67, 68 time frame. They were doing such clever things as going off with a single A6 at night and going up into the area of Hanoi and dropping their bombs and coming home again. Just boggles the mind.
What?
Oh yeah.
I'm hold on. I'm still processing. Well, I think I heard you say they were going single ship up to Hanoi.
Yeah, they were.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's
terrifying.
I'm still trying to process that. So we need to find one of these crazy people that actually did that and ask them what?
Yeah.
Bātar, do you know any BNs from that time frame?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Now, one of the reasons I picked up on that was that I was grew up in Montclair, New Jersey, and I was looking on the wall of the names from around there, and I found a lieutenant colonel from Montclair, and he had been the CO of a A6 squadron at Da Nang at that time. He died on one of those missions, going single ship to Hanoi.
Damn. That really seems like a not good idea. This is course in retrospect, but I think in real time it sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
Retrospect.
Remember who we're talking to here. Repeat. We're talking to a guy that's 3 beers in, and his skipper comes in and says, "Are you guys good? Because we're going to send you to bomb trucks up in the north." And they went, "Yeah,
let's do it." There you go. It seems like we started almost 10 minutes ago, but we're 42, 43
how is
minutes
that
in.
possible? That is,
Yeah,
I swear to you, it's been 15 minutes.
I know. So let's take just a moment, please, and thank the folks who helped make this show possible. And then we'll come back and do some more.
Hey, Fick. So, there I was.
Oh, here we go.
Flying high, thinking I had my retirement strategy all lined up. Then I learned the hard way how quickly turbulence can shake that plan up.
Let's face it, folks. Planning for retirement is a lot like flying IFR in a storm. Without the right instruments, if you're just 1 degree off course, before you know it, you're way off course. That's where HSI Wealth Strategies comes in.
HSI, which stands for Horizontal Situation Indicator, that's the trusted gauge in your cockpit that keeps you on course, just like their team keeps you on course for a secure retirement.
And the folks at HSI know a thing or two about the cockpit. These aren't your average wealth advisors. They're also pilots, just like us. Air Guard and civil aviators who don't just fly the line, they now guide the bottom line. Plus, they're seasoned at working with airline professionals, high net worth individuals, and business owners to ensure financial plans that can withstand any headwind.
Absolutely. And they know the ins and outs of the airline retirement plans like nobody else. From maximizing your accumulation while you're earning those high altitude salaries to minimizing your tax liabilities when it's time to pull back on the throttle. Because let's face it, taxes and inflation are like headwinds working against your glide path to a smooth retirement.
And don't fall into the trap of conventional wisdom when it comes to retirement planning. That kind of advice is like asking someone who's never flown to land the plane for you. We, as pilots, have unique challenges, and HSI gets that. They know how to help you avoid a hard landing on your financial future.
And let's talk about the golden rule of pilot retirement. Hey, Fig, how does a pilot make $1 million in his retirement account?
Well, he starts with $2 million and manages it himself for 6 months.
Bingo. And sadly, I've seen that happen.
Oh, dude. So true. That's why you've got to get a team in your corner who actually knows what they're doing. And with HSI, you're not only getting financial advisors, you're getting fellow pilots who still fly, who know exactly what it's like to be in your seat.
HSI can save you serious money. On average, they're finding their clients $1 million to $1.5 million just by making a few course corrections. Imagine what a little trim and rudder input could do for your retirement account.
So whether you're in the thick of your earning years or just about ready to enjoy your time in the jump seat, HSI Wealth Strategies has your six. Don't wait until you're ready to make your approach to realize you're off course. Give HSI a call and see how much they can help you save.
Because, folks, when it comes to retirement, you only get one approach. Make sure it's on glide path. To get your extra million or so in retirement, email robert.walling@nm.com. That's robert.walling@nm, that's November Mike.com. Or call 214-538-7030. That's 214-538-7030 to get started on your path to wealth and retirement today.
Remember, 214-538-7030. Think of it as 214-JET-7030 to keep you flying high in retirement.
HSI Wealth Strategies, guiding pilots on and off the runway to a smooth landing in retirement.
Boom.
Hey, fellow aviators. Today, we're diving into something you aspiring airline pilots and those needing an ATP, ATP-CTP, or type rating will definitely want to hear. Flight Training International, or FTIratings.com, since 1993, FTI has been setting the standard for top-tier pilot training.
Exactly, Sticks. But FTI isn't your typical flight school. It's a veteran-founded institution that's all about providing high-quality, cost-effective training across a wide range of airliners. Whether you're training on Airbus or Boeing simulators, they've got it covered. These simulators are as real as it gets. They mimic the exact conditions you'll face out there in the real world.
And these simulators are no joke. Full motion, FAA certified, and the same ones the major airlines use worldwide. So every training session isn't just practice, it's the real deal. Plus, their instructors have been in your shoes. For those transitioning from military jets to commercial airliners, they make that process smooth.
That's right. The instructors at FTI are top-notch. We're talking about seasoned professional pilots with military backgrounds and years of experience flying commercial airliners all over the world. They're there to guide you, to teach you, and ensure that you're prepared for everything. So when you take your check ride, everything will feel very, very familiar.
FTI Ratings offers a special program like the ATP CTP training program or Airline Transport Pilot Certification Training Program, which Congress mandated to make sure pilots are fully ready for the demands of modern aviation. And the best part, you can access all of this training right from your iPad at your convenience.
And because we love giving our listeners a deal, we've got one just for you. Mentioned So There I Was when signing up for your first course at FTI and get a sweet $100 off. Whether you're an experienced pilot looking to get a type rating or a military aviator transitioning to commercial, FTI is your launch pad.
So what are you waiting for? Head over to FTIratings.com. That's FTIratings.com. Join the ranks of the impressive alumni, which include pilots from the Air Force, the Navy, even the FAA. If they trust FTI, you can too.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you can use your veterans benefits to cover the cost of FTI. So get ready and prepare for takeoff. Visit FTIratings.com and get started today. Your future as a top-tier airline pilot starts at Flight Training International. That's FTIratings.com. Don't just fly, soar with FTI.
All right. Outstanding. Thank you both, HSI Wealth Strategies and FTI Ratings, for helping make this possible. And thank you to all the patrons who support this show and send us money every month. We really, truly, we couldn't do this without that kind of support. We are humbled. So,
let me kick in. I listened to your Dos Gringos talking about if you go down to the North Atlantic, it's over.
yeah.
Yeah.
On one of the transplants we did, we have an A3 as a pathfinder for us, and we took off and joined up with him, and we're all wearing 1/4-inch wetsuits, and it's nonstop. And I think we were out of Maine heading over to Norway nonstop.
Okay.
And we finally join up on the A3, and these guys knew that song, and we looked over at them, and they're all wearing wash khakis in the cockpit.
Yeah, because they knew better, right?
And then we got over there. They had the King of Norway greeting the crews,
No.
and I'd been over 8 hours in the cockpit, and I walked right past the king, walked up over the berm and out into the woods.
Had to go see a man about a dog, did you?
Exactly.
Oh, that's great.
Now,
Sorry, Kingy.
Did you guys tank on the way over? Or
Oh
were
yeah,
you-
yeah. And on that one we used Marine KC-130s met us partway over, and we topped off with them.
Oh my gosh! So you guys had to slow down, flaps down, and get right to tank off a KC-130.
No. By this time the KC-130s were pretty good, and when we were first in Vietnam, they had a toboggan to get a little more speed up. And
Okay.
even then, it was really tough.
Can
And-
you?
and-
Hey, Batar.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure you're using terms and you repeat, and I get it totally. What do you mean by toboggan?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the KC-130s back in those days were a little underpowered, so we'd get up with them, and then they'd point the nose downhill a little bit and try to get up enough speed so that we could stay with them
Without falling out of the sky.
Right?
without falling.
Yeah.
And what was really tough was once in a while somebody would fall out of the basket, and now you've got a partial load of fuel in you. You're heavier, and you have to try to get back in the basket. And sometimes it took many afterburner to stay there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And
now more fuel than you're taking in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, really, these are the things you don't think about on a just a normal operational basis. But holy shit! Okay, so you got your fueler, your refueler is up high, and he's coming downhill, so he can go fast enough for you to get slow enough to get in there,
exactly.
and then yeah, oh my gosh,
That's crazy.
Another quick shot that has nothing to do with refueling. Another time, probably February of '66, somewhere in that time frame. I'm with one of the new pilots, and he and I are in circles up just south of the DMZ, and waiting for the forward air controller to call us in. And I'm playing with the radar, and I look up into North Vietnam, and I find a target that I estimate to be a little over 80,000 feet.
what?
And the fastest overtake that the radar would record was 2,700 knots closure. And it's locked at 2,700. So the closure is something greater than 2,700 knots. And we're just cruising around at about 450 or so. So the rest of it belongs to that airplane.
What?
And you know, I think there's something screwy here. So I brake lock, and I scan and I look at it, and I lock it up, and I brake lock and I lock it up. And it's a big target. And there's no doubt. And it finally goes right overhead of us, and we don't see it, but the radar shows it going over our tops.
Okay.
We talk about it, and we decide that we're just not going to debrief that.
That didn't happen.
They're gonna tell us that, you know, we were really off in some other place if we tried to tell that story. And it wasn't until I got back to El Toro after that tour, and I'd been there a while, and they had a fighter weapons symposium down at Miramar. And at the Fighter Weapons Symposium, they brought down a bird colonel, and his backseater was a major that were flying the YF-12A.
which is a precursor to the
The black.
SR-71, maybe.
I think they only built 3 of them. They were the interceptor version of the RS-71.
Holy shit!
And I found out then that the RS-71, even in early '66, was flying missions right over the middle of North Vietnam and coming down. And why he was such a big target, I don't know. He must have had a panel off. Something going wrong with it.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
time,
Because that was pretty stealth airplane.
well,
Oh
yeah,
my god! Yeah, 2,700 knots closure though.
well, back at El Toro, when I before I went overseas, we had a squadron that was profiling their airplanes to go across the ocean, and another guy and I volunteered to take one with 3 tanks up on it and profile it. And the first thing we did was we went up to I can't think of the name of the base in Sacramento where they flew out of, but we knew where the RS-71s and the
Mather.
I don't think it was Mather. I think there's 2 bases there. I think it was the other one probably.
Oh, Beale.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. It was. So we listened on ground control to see if we could hear them coming out, and they had a specific departure corridor for them. So we got up at the top of the departure corridor, and we heard one take off, and we started downhill trying to find them on the radar. And at that time, we had the F4J had the brand new pulse Doppler radar, which was pretty solid radar. It was kind of the best around at that time frame. And I'm working the radar trying to find this target, and we know where he is, coming right at us. And finally, the guy that I'm flying with gets a visual on him, and I finally break him out at somewhere around 8 miles or so on the radar.
Wow.
And that's when we finally figured out that it had stealth characteristics.
Yeah, because that's really close, and that
Oh,
was
yeah.
not a small airplane. Not small.
No. And after that, we still had fuel, so we went over and low level through Yosemite.
Right?
Hey, can you just kind of dumb down and for people that aren't aviators and describe what a pulse Doppler radar does for you?
Yeah, the pulse radar, the regular radar we had in the Phantom initially. The only trouble with it was when you looked at low altitudes and looked around, it was almost impossible to break out a target while you got all the ground return back on there. And the Doppler radar looks at the speed of the return, and the stuff that is not moving is all blanked out, and so you can see targets. It wasn't unusual to find targets out to 60 or 70 miles with the Doppler radar. And now they're just hugely better than that.
Nice.
Yeah, but that was huge, right? I mean, the pulse Doppler part was huge.
Oh yeah, that was brand
because you could filter out non-moving targets.
Yep.
Well, at least targets that were because you could set a gate, right? You could set I want to filter out everything that's doing less than 90 knots closure on me or something like that, right?
No, you couldn't do it on that radar. No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, so that thank you for that definition, but that's a big damn deal. So when you say, you're trying to find this guy and you couldn't find him until 8 miles, it's because his radar cross section was so small that you couldn't even paint him until then, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And so trying to paint a picture for our non-aviator listeners that, this airplane that you were trying to find is not a small airplane. We're talking an SR-71, which I don't know exactly. I've seen one in person several times in museums. They're giant.
Yep.
But it had stealth
I think they're over 100
characteristics.
feet. Yeah, they're at least 70 feet long.
No, Styx is frantically going to throw something up. But the fact that you couldn't find it to 8 miles is huge because this thing is like, a Greyhound bus coming at you.
Yep.
Size-wise, right? But it was
which really amazed me that I saw the one as a big target coming out of North Vietnam. But like I said, he must have had a panel loose or something going on.
Right, or maybe some bad paint, or who knows. But
Yeah.
I'm just glad. I'm glad to hear you say it wasn't egg-shaped with strange lights and flew over your cockpit and then did
There you
a
go.
90-degree
Exactly.
turn.
Exactly. And we had Punchy on episode 54. If you go back and you want to hear tales from an SR-71 pilot. Sadly, we lost him about 3 weeks after we recorded with him. But yeah, fantastic show from a guy who
Oh yeah.
actually flew those.
Yep.
Amazing airplane.
Now, real quick again, let me tell you the Great Santini story.
Oh, please
Nice.
do. Please
You know
do.
the movie, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I read the book and saw the movie.
Okay.
Book
And
so much
if
better.
you remember, early on in the movie, there's a practice dogfight between two Navy phantoms and two Marine phantoms.
Yes.
Right.
And I was the assistant AMO in the squadron that had to repaint our airplanes to say Navy on the side.
Oh,
No.
In fact, for whatever reason, I still sitting on my desk here. I have a black and white photo of sitting in 251's hangar review for Navy on the side, and the CO at that time decided that only the same 4 people would be in any of the flying scenes just to keep the paperwork down. So he and a friend of mine and 2 other guys were in the movie there. And then we had a series of accidents over the next year. And the first one was that a couple of guys went out and were, what we called ACM. And I heard it on one of your broadcasts, they call it the basic fighter maneuvering for dogfighting now. But basically,
Right.
2 guys are out doing 1V. The -2 pilot lost it at a fairly low altitude and thought he could recover it, and got out of the spin or post stall gyrations, whatever he was in. But they knew they weren't going to make it, so they initiated a dual ejection at a fairly low altitude. The guy in the back seat, the seat goes to the back seat first, and then the front seat. The back seat made it out okay, and the front seat didn't.
Mm.
And I got to spend 2 weeks on a Navy salvage ship trying to find it, and we never did find it.
Were you part of the accident investigation team?
No, I just got stuck on the ship so that if somebody had to dive and get the pilot out of the airplane, I could be there for that. But it was sometime after that, we sent crews to the weapons tactics instructor course at Yuma.
Right.
And 2 of the guys that were in the Great Santini had a mock dogfight with an F-15, and they were doing a convoy escort of some sort, and the F-15 jumped them, and they said they got a good, or I'd heard they got a good shot on the F-15, and they turned to go back to the convoy, and they looked back, and the F-15 was chasing them, and so they went supersonic at very low altitude, trying to get away from the F-15, and missed clearing a ridgeline in the Chocolate Mountains by about 3 feet.
Oh.
And just scattered the airplane all over the desert.
Oh.
yeah.
And that took care of 2 of the guys in the movie.
Oh, geez.
And some months after that, our squadron CO, who was just a great guy, was going to be a general almost undoubtedly. And yeah, there's the picture of Duval.
Yeah.
And Duval followed one of the squadrons for quite a while, and he was around the base lieutenant colonel's uniform. And everybody'd salute him because nobody knew who the hell he was. And he'd go into the PX and buy things, and nobody would challenge him.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
Wearing a bag with Lieutenant Colonel USMC on it.
Oh, wearing the full winter green uniform. But our CO had moved up to become the Group XO. And he was out flying with one of the other squadrons, and they were doing night supersonic intercepts at high altitude. And the way you do a reattack, you try to take a simulated sparrow shot out front, and then you try to turn around and come behind the other aircraft. Well, when the other aircraft's doing high supersonic speeds, the only way to turn behind them is to turn way out front. So we always briefed altitudes when we practiced those to make sure that everybody knew where the planes were, because a lot of the time you were turning right under the other airplane as you made your turn.
Sure.
And this night, the fighter aircraft didn't hold the correct altitude, and they had a midair in the middle of the night, and that was the end of the CO. So we had memorial services for a while there.
Damn.
And the 4th guy in the movie is a friend of mine that. We both have summer places on Cape Cod up in Massachusetts, and I see him every summer. We go out fishing together a lot. But he had gone to the West Coast in a TA-4, and they were coming back over Texas, going home at altitude, something like 34,000 feet. and the plane stopped working.
Oops.
They went down a ways with it, and then they finally decided, yeah, it's not going to start. And they jumped out over Texas whatsoever. That took care of the great Santini aviators.
Wow. So that kind of had a bad cloud hanging over it.
Yeah, it did.
You know what? It was the Navy being painted on the sides of the airplane.
Right,
That was the
that's just
bad
bad
luck
luck.
part right there.
Man.
Might have been
Hey,
the thing that did it.
I want to come back to something you said that I think is pretty it's pretty awesome. And if you could, so you're talking about these high speed intercepts, and when you would you'd shoot the radar missile from basically head on, and then
Yep.
you would, but because of the speeds, you'd have to, and then you try to intercept from behind and shoot another missile. Because of the speed, you'd have to start turning way before you ever passed them.
And you'd be bleeding speed in the turn anyway, and this guy's already faster than you, so you really had to start quite early to get a second shot.
Yeah, that's so that's a lot of closure, of closure.
That brings up another tale here, real quick.
Awesome.
When I was out on the Navy salvage ship, it was the USS Edenton, and it had about 110 crew. It had mixed gas diving in a decompression chamber and big salvage winches, and it had a small helicopter deck on the back. So, being a Marine, every day I was out there, I'd go out and run 3 miles around this little helicopter deck, just to let the Navy know what you could do.
Right.
They must have thought you were insane.
Well, the first night we're out to sea, and we've got pretty good seas, and the ship's got a round hull, and we're rocking back and forth and up and down, and the officers' mess had a table that seated 6, so they put me to the table so that I'm athwartships sideways to the motion of the ship, and then they feed this huge greasy meal, just all kinds of stuff. And I'm just scarfing it down. I'm having a great time. And they finally come out with strawberry shortcake for dessert.
Oh no.
And I asked for seconds. And
Nice.
we finally get done. And I said, can I get a cup of coffee to finish off with? And they're all looking at me. And I'm going, what? And he said, that's the first time it's never worked.
They're
What's never
trying to
worked?
get you sick.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be over the rail puking your guts out. How come? I said, you don't understand what I do for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah, try going out in the middle of the night in a blacked out cockpit,
Heads
and
down in a thunderstorm.
being up at 40,000 feet with the bogey at 500 feet, and you dive down and you maneuver all over the sky without anything to see outside, and finally come up on the tail and take your simulated shot on them.
Yeah. Yeah. This shipboard stuff, that's nothing.
This is low speed, low threat shit right here, pal.
That's
That's awesome.
yeah.
That is great. Thank you for not blowing chunks and acquiescing to their tactics.
I was waiting for save me the chunky parts.
Unfortunately, I cannot say that I was never airsick. In my later years, in the squadron that had tended bar in Georgetown and gone into the Marine Corps. So we took a cross country up, and his mother lived up in that area. So we went into Andrews, and we went into his bar that night. He had beer and then schnapps, and every time they'd give us a free round of schnapps. And we left there about 2:00 in the morning. And we got up around 5:30 or 6 the next morning to Andrews and got in our planes.
Oh boy!
And we took off, and I finally said, "-2, you've got the lead for comm. I can't hack it." I don't understand. I finally filled my helmet bag.
I have no words.
And
how come you didn't have the comm before it? If we don't stop puking by the hole to short, this flight's a cank. I guess we have to get back.
we went down to Cecil and landed there, and I go into the base ops, and I'm in the head, and I'm washing my helmet bag in the sink, and a Navy chief comes in and looks at me and looks at it, and he immediately understands what I'm doing and what's going on. It just gave me the filthiest look you've ever seen. Made me feel about 2 inches tall.
Oh, that's great. That is rich.
Yeah. Oh man.
Okay,
that's
I
outstanding.
have to ask. So your time frame. When you were, help me out because it's been a minute since I talked to you the first time. When you first deployed, were you a East Coast F4 guy or a West Coast F4 guy?
East Coast.
Okay, so in the book,
Oh, that's right.
in the book,
It's when you came back, you wanted to go to Cherry Point, and they sent you to El Toro, and
And
everybody
everybody else wanted El Toro, and they all got sent east.
Yeah, it's the Marine Corps way.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, why the hell not, right?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, was there a Bull Meacham character in Beaufort in that time frame that the book was based on? Because the writer, the author of the book, oh my gosh, I think he's
yes.
I think he's Blaze.
He'll be back.
And I'm
Yeah,
drawing a blank
Pat
on
Conroy.
the author. Pat Conroy. Yeah, he based it on his father.
Right. Who was a Marine Phantom pilot, as I recall.
Well, I thought he was an F8
Right.
pilot, but
Maybe
I
F8s,
mean, I thought he
okay.
was actually an
Yeah.
F8 pilot. But so
Okay.
he was there when there was F8s. So I was wondering if he, if there was a larger than life character, which I think there was a lot of larger than life characters. I think we're talking
We're talking
to
Marine
a
aviation
larger,
here, brother.
but we are in the midst of a larger than life character as we speak.
Yes, we are. And he's
Ah,
back.
there we
Big
are.
Al,
Back
the,
again. Yeah.
the albino Rio, for crying out
Yeah.
loud. Okay, Batar, we were talking about you when you were gone behind your back.
Well, the CO of 115 at the time, and I can't remember his name at the minute offhand, but he was pretty much the quintessential hardcore F4 squadron CO, and that's the guy that was the
Your own personal Great Santini.
Was the basis
well-
of the Great Santini guy, maybe?
well, he wasn't the basis, but he was the guy that Duval followed around and learned to mimic.
Okay. So
There you go.
he was who Duval was mimicking.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
and
That's
and that brings
fantastic.
Rose figures.
I don't think I told the story about going over and on my in 1982 I was in Trip Tray and we our CO got promoted to bird colonel. Did I tell that tale in the first one?
No, sir.
No, sir, you did not.
Now we deployed over to Osan, and there was a F4 Air Force F4E squadron there that had 24 airplanes, and they had a bird colonel CO too. So in the bar that night, we decided that we would do a 2v2 dogfight hop the next day with the COs leading.
Oh boy.
And the loser would buy the beer for the squadron that night.
Okay, so there's
At the club.
there's skin in the game now,
Yep.
for real.
Right.
Oh.
On. Yeah. This
So
is
we
for,
knew
this one
at that
counts.
time that the F4E had a fairly heavy nose, and if it got buried, that wasn't a good thing to do against Navy and Marine Corps airplanes. And the first pass, the Air Force CO buries his nose to make the turn.
Oh
And-
boy.
Probably within 180 degrees of turn, we've got him. And I'm flying with our CO, and our CO, who I'd known for quite a while, and I'd been in the same squadron with him before. And he locks in probably 400 or 500 feet behind the Air Force CO, and on the radio starts calling guns, guns, guns. Guns on the Air Force F4E in a left-hand turn passing 360. Guns, and he wouldn't shut up. He just, we made a 360 turn. Him on the radios like that the whole time.
Oh, that's
I almost started feeling embarrassed for the poor Air Force. But we finally called knock it off, and the whole squadron went to the club that night. And the Marines owned the club. There were no Air Force guys there at all. They never showed up.
that's
course not.
surprising. Weird.
maybe a
Oh,
show
that's
title
that's
there.
rich. That is
Guns,
rich.
guns, guns.
Guns,
Yeah, we-
guns, guns on the Air Force F4 in a
Forward,
left-hand turn,
left-hand
passing
turn.
360. Oh,
Just
that's great.
nonstop. Yep. Yep.
Oh man, that's fantastic. Oh boy, we've been going quite a while. How about we circle back to your opening story where you're a few hundred miles off Hawaii and your wingman has no gas.
Oh yeah, 400 pounds. What the hell is that about?
Yep. And you know, my summation at that point when he signaled 400 pounds.
Somebody's swimming.
And I talked to the guy that I was flying with, which was Fox again, was now the squadron CO. And when I talked to him, he said that I was the guy that gave the hand signal. I thought he gave the hand signal. But one of us, when they joined up and gave that, immediately gave him a signal to clean off the airplane, which they did. They hit the panic button, and you know, we're left with no tanks and no pylons and no nothing left on the airplane.
Right,
and
nice and slick.
When I finally made my Mayday call to Honolulu, all of a sudden there was, you know, after all the airlines were talking back and forth, all of a sudden there was total dead silence.
Oh, you bet your ass there was. As
And-
soon as you
and
said Mayday, 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 we're like, oh,
So you were on Victor. You're talking on Victor then. Oh,
No.
obviously, because you heard
No.
the airline. Oh,
No,
so
UHF.
you were uniform. Okay,
UHF.
okay. Yeah. So here's the thing. Let me jump in real quick with this. Military aircraft talk on a different band than civilian aircraft most of the time. I don't know if that's changed since we've gotten out, but so you would only hear half the conversation. You would hear the tower controller, the center controller, that sort of thing. You would hear them
For the
talking
most part,
to Delta
yeah.
325, but you never
Yep.
heard Delta 325 because they're on Victor and we were on uniform.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
thank you for that.
But luckily, when Honolulu Center came back and I told them that I needed to know where the standby tanker was, and he was supposed to be on the ground at Barber's Point, they said, "Oh no, he decided he needed some flight time, and he headed out your way."
How fortuitous.
So we got hold of the standby tanker, and he was like 70 or 80 miles away, and just amazing that happened that way. And I told the tanker usually likes to call the intercept and tell you when to, you know, start their turn on their call.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, this time I'm going to tell you when to start your turn. And he started his turn, and we rolled out right, you know, he rolled out right in front of us when he ended his turn. And we were all set up and up there. And he couldn't have had, they must have been reading 0 on the fuel gauges. He couldn't have had anything.
So 400 pounds is what they are indicating, apparently. What was the gauge error?
Well, the gauge error was, I think it was plus or minus 350, as I recall, something like that. and plus, we're burning 6,000 pounds an hour. So, you know, there's no way that he doesn't have more than just a handful of minutes of fuel left in the airplane.
He's got 6 minutes of fuel.
But he got tanked, and we came in with 5 airplanes, and KGMB television had live camera coverage of us taxiing back in at Kaneohe.
Yeah,
And
because of the
we
Mayday
taxied
call.
in and lined up. And, you know, there's 4 airplanes with 3 external tanks, and there's the guy on the end there with a clean airplane. And I never did hear. I should have gotten the recap from Fox, and I never did find out what the pilot had screwed up on there. But that was the last time that pilot flew in a Marine Corps airplane.
Huh.
Oh,
Weird.
Well, he'd been a little shaky before that, but he did something really stupid that time, and I don't know what it was.
yeah, that could have ended very badly. Thank
Oh, yeah,
goodness.
I thought sure they were going to swim.
Yeah, but you know, every now and then weird things like that, and then his Sticks puts up, you know, because he's our coasty rotorhead. Time to call the Coast Guard. Yeah,
Yeah.
could have been,
Yeah, for real.
could have been. What a lonely feeling sitting out there in that raft, watching the waves go by, watching your friends fly. Kind of like being in LSO, sitting in a boat watching your friends fly. Oh.
How did an hour and 18 minutes go by so fast?
I don't know. This is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic, Marine. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Bātar, I know this. I mean, I don't know how often you hear this, but I'm speaking for Repeat Sticks, Bago, and everybody listening. Thank you for your service, and thank you for telling us your stories.
Well, you know, I wouldn't have missed it. And, you know, I really lucked out cycling through 10 squadrons and not sitting at a desk very much at all.
That is
Fantastic.
a story that is a story in itself. How you did that, you know, in a career without staff tours and all these out of the cockpit tours. I mean, I think the longest you were out of the cockpit was when you went to Glencoe, Georgia for ATC school.
Right.
Well, no, and actually, in the middle of all that, I went back to University of San Diego and got a college degree.
What was
Okay.
your degree in? Just
In
asking for a friend.
BS in business administration.
Okay.
Okay.
And being older and wiser, I went back and got an MBA when I got out, and I was always a straight A student after that.
So
Well, you had that 1.99 to make up for. And
Exactly. Exactly.
So, not aviation question. So you spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, active duty, retired. What did you do with your
five
second
years
career?
5 years before I retired, I had bought 42 acres on a lake in Maine.
Okay.
And 500 feet of frontage on a nice, clear 6 or 7 mile long lake, and it cost me $25,000 at the time.
Oh my gosh.
And when we got up to Maine, I started taking night courses for the MBA. But while I was doing that, I bought a chainsaw, and my wife and I cleared the land. I hauled trees out and had them taken to a mill and cut into planks and beams, and built a 3-story super insulated post and beam house on the lake up there. And and it worked well. I heated with firewood most of the years I was there, and I just go out and knock trees down and hand split 4 or 5 cord of firewood every year.
I don't suppose you could send us a picture of that house that I could embed in the show.
I can absolutely do that. In fact,
We'd
That's
love
how
to
he
do
stayed.
that.
That's why he looks so damn svelte right now from all
Right.
those years of splitting wood, for crying out loud.
But then I went back, and Bath Iron Works shipyard in Maine is still building Arleigh Burke class destroyers. And I was there. I got a job there in the purchasing department. And when the first Arleigh Burke was being built, and I ended up putting contracts in place for major ship systems on the Arleigh Burke class destroyers. And then once you put a contract in place, you own it. And you have to take care of any problems that go along with it. And you're also you're putting the contract in place for both your shipyard and the one down in the Pascagoula at the Ingalls shipyard,
Right.
which builds the same ship. And I think they started with DDG 51, and we had contracts when I left in place for up through DDG 112.
That's a lot of
And
boats.
they've still been building them after that. So they're still building them now.
Well, that's outstanding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it was-
fantastic. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, very cool. All right. Well,
Do you still have the property up there in Maine?
No, I sold it to a guy that I've known since he was 10 years old, and he was in his 50s when I sold it to him, and he's having fun with it now, and I don't miss shoveling snow and plowing a half-mile long driveway and splitting firewood, so I'm happy here, and he's happy there.
Oh, outstanding. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for that story.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah. Sticks put up that picture of there it is.
Yeah.
Literally, I that's what I envisioned. I saw pictures of you from 1965 and 1969 when you were sitting in the hot shack, and you would probably work carting around. You probably had to have help carrying around those giant testicles. There,
No,
right there.
and that's not true. I mean, there were squadron after squadron of us going out and doing that day after day. It was just everybody. I think the Marine training has a lot to do with it.
Right. Professional and humble, but
And he's humble
you guys
too.
brought it back, and
Yeah.
and you delivered.
Yeah.
Well, and you're a little worried the first time you go out and get shot at as to how you react, but you find out that with the training you have, it just ain't no big deal.
Yeah. There you go.
Well,
He makes it
humbled to
sound.
be in
He
your
makes
presence.
it sound. I know, right? He
Yeah.
makes it sound so nonchalant, and I've been standing at attention almost this whole hour and 23 minutes. Can I go to parade rest, sir?
Bingo.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Batar, Big Al, the albino Rio.
That's it.
You are a gift, and we really appreciate you sharing your stories with us.
Indeed.
Well, it's been my pleasure. It's always fun.
All right.
And listen, if you think of some stories that you forgot to tell us, would you send us a message and say, "Hey, I got a couple more," because We
We'll do
need
it
'em.
again.
Yeah,
We'll do it again.
we'll do it again.
Next Friday at the club.
I don't think I have to make another. I've only got maybe 2 or 3 others, so I think I'm probably good to go.
Well, we can always
fantastic.
do a quick snippet,
There you go.
a snippet from
And a
Batar.
life- And a life well lived in service to country and core, and we're
And,
honored to-
and as you guys found out, I would recommend to anybody that wants a more interesting life that military aviation is certainly that. And there's no guarantees you're going to make it out in one piece, but you're certainly going to have interesting time.
and you're going to work around some of the most professional people you'll ever have the pleasure of meeting. So
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the best.
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
been the best part of my. It's been the best part of my adulthood. I can promise you that.
Yep.
bingo.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and land this plane, shall we, Fig? Let's get our thank yous out. We got to thank Dave Hamilton over at Backbeat Media Online, handles our advertising for us, and gave us the know-how to put this show up in the first place. So thank you, Dave. What if you want to write to us, Fig? How would you do that?
Well, let's see. You could write to Fig or a repeat at So There I Was.
Yeah.
However,
If you want a real answer.
if you want an answer to a question, I would write to Sticks or Bago at So There I Was, because
1G and Bago.
yeah,
Yeah.
and especially Sticks. He's in the background right now, but that dude's got like a 15-pound noggin, and he's full of more. He's like what's the guy from Cheers that had all that stuff in his head?
Cliffy.
He's like a Coast Guard helicopter Cliffy. He knows everything, almost about everything. And now he's a medical guy, so he even knows more shit.
Yeah, exactly.
He really does have like a 15-pound head, and he is on it like nobody's business. So that sticks
If-
it. So there I was.us.
That's it. And if you want some cool merch, maybe a coffee mug with the show logo on there, cool looking logo that, by the way, Sticks designed.
Yeah,
Or
weird.
a bikini with a logo that, by the way, Sticks designed. And the bikini says, So There I Was, if you scan the barcode on the front of it.
It is bikini season below
In
the equator.
In the southern hemisphere. That's right.
We do have listeners down there. So come on. Put
Look,
the
some great
Bobby
gift
down.
ideas for the aviator in your life. There's some great merch there. I'm wearing one of the hoodie sweatshirts now. This thing is so warm. I love this shirt.
He's
I'm-
sweating. I
get
don't know if you can
sad
see it,
when
but
it's
he's
dirty.
sweating. It's so warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's see. We need to also thank Bago and Sticks for all their help in the background, day in and day out, and all the legwork that they do. It's deeply appreciated, gentlemen.
Those guys are
and
rock stars.
seems to me
There's Brad, BDS, Badass Aviation, Brad Silcott, Badass Aviation, BDS Aviation Photography, who gives us so many great photographs.
amazing photos. Yeah, fantastic stuff. And I don't know. I feel like we're forgetting a couple people, but bet you. Oh, you know what? And Sticks mentioned that earlier, and I forgot.
Toys for
Folks,
Tots.
it's the Christmas season. If you're looking for a charity to give to the Marine charity Toys for Tots, don't let a child go without a toy for Christmas this
Yeah,
year.
it's run by the Marine Corps Reserve. You can find places all over wherever you live that they're collecting toys, unwrapped toys
Yeah.
for Toys for Tots.
Fantastic charity, because no kid should have an empty Christmas tree on Christmas morning.
No.
So,
And then the music you're hearing
do it now.
is none other than the two Air Force guys that make the Air Force sound good. F-16 pilots, the Dos Gringos. They got 4 albums. They were a great interview when we interviewed them, and their music is outstanding. Not a bad song on any album.
No, even though they lack judgment, not a bad song in the bunch. So,
Like a lot of judgment.
till next week, everybody stay safe and check 6.
Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed to save your life. But we knew there was no way. 'Cause when you you're going down the North Atlantic, man, it's over.
It's what?
He said it's over.
Okay, I didn't ask for your life story.
And actually, we did, and we're grateful to have gotten it. We're out. All right, folks, we're going to end it. We lost Batar.
I hope I hope he's.
I don't know if he's coming back or not. I'll text him, but because I hoping to get one more extra out of him. He said he only had a couple more stories. I'm betting we can get.
Oh, here he comes. He's coming. There he is. He's coming back.
All right.
He's back.
Welcome back, sir. All right. So
You're getting calmed down by the North Vietnamese.
right. And the North Vietnamese found out where you are, and they're jamming you up.
I have no clue what's going on.
So
That makes two of us, sir.
I want to put out a request to anybody watching this. If you would write to us write to me, repeat, REPETE, at sothereIwas.us. If you can find Major Buang Lee, and that's BUANG-LY. If he's still alive, I'd love to get him on the show. He is the South Vietnamese Air Force major who stole a bird dog, put his wife and 5 children in it, and landed on the USS Midway to get out of Vietnam at the end of the war.
How about that?
Yeah. So he could still well be alive. He's probably in his 70s or 80s, but would love to chat with him.
Is one of his children has got to be alive still?
Absolutely. And may remember that flight.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. When you see video of helicopters being pushed off an aircraft carrier, yeah, that's him there. You see videos being pushed off of Huey's being pushed off the Midway. That's why. He was flying overhead and didn't have any radio. So he flew over and he dropped a note. How do you think he got the note to land on the flight deck? He wrapped it around a pistol.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Is that
And
cool
he
stuff?
did an airdrop, and he hit the deck.
Hit the
How about
flight
that
deck,
shit?
and then he pushed helicopters out of the way so he could land a Cessna bird dog on the deck of the Midway.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to find that.
Sticks, you're fast, man. So,
Damn, Sticks is fast.
yeah.
Look at that shit.
I try.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right, y'all. At the end of the stream here tonight, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Looks like we've got, 10 there and another. Oh, we were down to 2. We were up to about 7 or 8 in the Rumble. We got to find a way to get more people watching the live stream. I don't know.
So one quick thing I was just going to add with our push for Toys for Tots, if you have any So There I Was gear, get a picture of you dropping some toys off with the Toys for Tots wearing the So There I Was gear, and we'll put it up on the Facebook page if you send it to us.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. Good job.
And I think it's a great idea. Just this is, there are so many kids that go without gifts at Christmas, and you guys being former Marines, it's only logical that we put our support behind that.
And we promise we don't play with the toys first.
Maybe.
Most of the time.
Depends. If it's a drone, maybe.
Yeah, they're safe.
Well, if it has
Got to test it and make sure it works.
If it has a trigger, we might need to check it.
There you go. All right, guys. I'm going to end the live stream here and say good night to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see if we can't crank out a second extra this week. Be well. Stay safe.
Check 6.